Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Predator, Killer of Killers. And this is before I get to Predator Badlands, as this was on Hulu. And welcome back to Predator, when I reviewed Back to the Predator, and then I came back for Prey. And yes, I did all the previous Predator films, but I didn't get a chance to do this one yet because, yeah, this. I didn't know this was a movie, to be perfectly honest. So and until I came to Predator Badlands starting the next time. So let's just get into this and see how this goes. We open with the saying about being the killer of killers as we get to a ship heading to Earth when Anders is heading to battle with his mother Ursa, as Anders almost gets killed until we get to a title card called the Shield. As we don't see a battle with these warriors, as Ursa tortures the enemy's men for Chief Zoran, excuse me, as Anders watches Ursa kill the man she tortured, and the animation style is great to watch. And we move on to Ursa explaining what happened to her father when she was young to Anders, on how she killed her own father because of the monster. Well, no, because of Chief Zoran, and into not getting and I was not getting what the fuck was happening at this point. And there were times that'll happen during the movie. Ursa fights off some men, and this sequence was gorgeous to watch because of the animation until Ursa gets to Chief Zoran, as he at first doesn't remember her, but it comes back to him, excuse me, and he talks about how she disgraced her father, and then Anders decapitates him, and is suddenly pushed by the warlord Predator, and it kills off a predator, let's say, as it kills off lots of Ursa's men in the goriest ways possible. And Anders tries to kill the predator, and Ursa fights the predator, as she almost falls to her death and gets in ice cold water, and she suddenly wakes up and finds her way out of the predator, can't find her in the ice, as she fights the predator. And this motherfucker is huge. And they go back in the ice water and grabs Ursa as she fights and gets it off and gets out with its weapon. And that fight sequence was actually kind of cool, as we've never seen a giant predator before. As that was in the original series. Anders dies in Ursa's hands, and then we move on to the year 1609. Yes, this is a three-story movie, or four and a half, let's say, in Japan in 1609, and we meet a new character named Kenji training until someone comes in, as does the sensei to help him out, and he trains with the samurais while Kenji gets a cut in his face. As this segment is called The Sword, and 20 years later, the sensei dies, and Kenji. In this segment, I don't quite fully understand who is who at this point, as someone attacks the samurai guards, and do samurais need guards? Because I'm led to believe they're a group of patient badasses. And I'm thinking, this is a bunch of short Predator movies. Like, what the fuck is going on here? As it was very confusing to me. So I didn't get that when I saw it both times when I saw this movie. Kenji fights with the sword in his kung fu style, while the attacker uses a weapon that has chains on it, and the kung fu was pretty cool, as that's not what I'm here to see while the Predator watches them fight, as Kenji won the fight, and another Predator attacks Kenji, and it kills other people, and not Kenji, yet as he knows the Predator is a badass, and is almost killing Kenji, but Kenji stabs the Predator in the foot and runs out of there. Or maybe it's his brother, I forget what his name was, but and almost falls to death as he gets in the water, and a samurai comes in attacking Kenji. I think that's his brother, I forget, and saves him from the Predator, whom has a chain of his own, which worked as the movie works as a series of short Predator films, as Kenji blows up the Predator and it dies as the sensei, and Kenji, well, maybe not the sensei, but the brother and Kenji cut the Predator into pieces and survived the war against the Predator. And this was satisfying as a story, as I don't quite fully understand who the characters are, as I like the previous story more than this one, as I had a hard time connecting with these characters. And we move on to 1941 in Florida. We get Torres driving like a fucking maniac as his father fixes the car for him because Torres blows out the engine, and this segment is called The Bullet. As we move on to the Atlantic in 1942, as Torres fixes a plane and his boss Vandy, voiced by Michael Biehn, I didn't bring that up, but the truth is he's in it as one of the voices, as he doesn't believe Torres is a pilot, and some wounded soldiers come in and Vandy takes off and Torres fixes the engine, and the pilot gets endangered as the plane goes to with the soldiers flying and fighting in World War II. As Torres realizes it's not who they're fighting, as they're fighting a Predator ship. And this is probably my favorite story of any of the movies, them in the movie. They continuously fight a ship that belongs to the Predator, as Torres knows it's a trap, and they're attacking something that doesn't belong in this world. And Torres' plane gets on fire while a soldier was dumb enough to fire at the Predator ship and gets his plane shot down. And Torres almost gets shot down, but the Predator misses, and Vandy goes with Torres when they climb to the sky, and Vandy sacrifices himself and blows up the Predator ship at the same time. And Torres goes down with the Predator and gets a shot at him, which worked out for Torres as he floods the plane to stop the Predator as it shoots him, and Torres knocks its ass down with a parachute, which was thrilling while the editing in this is super tight for an 85-minute movie of movies, for that matter. Torres is back fixing cars as a mechanic and suddenly feels an earthquake and walks outside and sees the Predator ship, and they target Torres and lets him live, which felt pretty fucking weird, as he wakes up in the Predator ship as they imprison him, and he meets with Ursa and Kenji. And that was a clever way to connect the stories and put them in a blender, and they get to their ship as they get to the courtroom, as they make them fight one another, and they try to fight together against the Predator until a creature that I believe we'll see in Predator Badlands comes out, and Torres says he has a way to escape until he gets eaten. And I really like how clever this movie is from start to finish. Torres blows up the creature and he almost dies while Ursa and Kenji fight one another, as Kenji gives up and they don't die, and their chains come off as Torres comes along and fights with the Predator, and they get their asses handed to them, with Kenji fighting back with Ursa almost getting killed, while Torres flies them out of there, and Kenji gets his arm cut off as they manage to almost escape, but they get caught by a Predator weapon, as Ursa gets off the plane and cuts their chain, and they bring Ursa in the same room as Nehru from Prey, as well as Dutch from the first movie and Mike Harrigan from the second movie. As the credits roll, and the climax made this into a pretty good Predator movie, as this is one of the better ones in the series. But how good was this movie? Let's talk about it in a rating. I'll give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. The animation style is great to watch, as there are some gorgeous sequences because of the animation, and there were times I didn't get the plot, nor did I get what the fuck was going on in this movie. And the action scenes were kind of cool, and I don't remember ever seeing a giant Predator before, which is original, and kudos for making that the case with this movie. And I'm thinking, this is a movie with some short Predator movies, as that was very confusing enough as it is, and it works as a short Predator films. But the second story, I had a very hard time connecting with the characters in that story, and I do like the first story, but the third story is my favorite story of any of them because of how it's set in World War II. And the editing is tight in this, and it's only 85 minutes long and tells different stories, which actually works for a Predator movie, or movies for that matter. Anyways, the movie is thrilling and connecting Torres with Ursa and Kenji in a blender, and it's all one story, and it was clever as fuck. And this is a recommendation for the movie, because at first I didn't get it, but it takes a while to explain how it's the same movie, And I like how clever this movie is from start to finish, and the climax made this into a pretty good movie, as this is one of the better Predator movies, and I'm looking forward to what Predator Badlands has to offer from director Dan Trachtenberg, who directed this and Prey, and the best sequel in this, in my opinion, or the best prequel sequel in the series, in my opinion, Prey. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for this review, and next time I will be back with Predator Badlands. And until then, da 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 da.